You were told the world is fair, that good deeds are rewarded and bad deeds are punished. You were taught that if you work hard, follow the rules, and appeal to what is right, you will be treated with justice. This is a lie. It is the most dangerous lie you have ever been told, because it is a lie that encourages weakness. It is a sedative for the powerless, a comforting fiction that ensures they remain so. The universe does not operate on a moral axis. Karma is not a cosmic force. The world is not a courtroom where evidence of your goodness is weighed. The world is a physical system. It operates on causality, leverage, and force. Power is a form of social physics. It is a neutral, indifferent law that governs the interactions of all living things. To deny this is to deny gravity. You can believe you can fly. You can hope you can fly. You can argue that it is only fair that you should fly. But when you step off the cliff, you will fall. This is not philosophy. This is an observation. The illusion of a just world is a cage for your mind. Today, we shatter that cage. We do not do this to inspire despair, but to initiate clarity. To see the world as it is the first and most critical step to operating within it effectively. The sentimental man sees the world as he wishes it were, and is crushed by reality. The rational man sees the world as it is, and seeks to master its mechanics. The exposure is complete. Now we examine the law. Over 2,400 years ago, the historian Thucydides recorded a conversation. It was not a debate between philosophers in a garden, but a negotiation on the precipice of annihilation. It is known as the Melian Dialogue. The Peloponnesian War was raging. The Athenian Empire, a democratic but ruthless naval power, arrived at the shores of Melos, a small, neutral island. The Athenians did not come to debate. They came to annex. They sent envoys to explain the terms. The terms were simple: surrender and become a subject state, or be destroyed. The Melians, proud and independent, refused. They did not argue from a position of strength, for they had none. Instead, they argued from a position of principle. They argued that the Athenian invasion was unjust. They were a neutral party, and had done Athens no wrong. They argued that it was in Athens' own interest not to destroy the principle of neutrality. The Athenian response was cold, precise, and devoid of sentiment. They stated that the question of justice only matters between equals in power. In all other cases, there is only one reality. They spoke the words that have echoed through every corridor of power for all of history since. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. The Athenians were not being needlessly cruel. They were being honest. They explained that hope was a poor substitute for a strategy. The Melians hoped the gods would favor their just cause. The Athenians noted that the gods, as far as they could tell, also seemed to respect strength. The Melians hoped their kinsmen, the Spartans, would come to their aid. The Athenians countered that the Spartans were pragmatic. They would not risk their own forces for a lost cause. The Melians clung to their hope. They clung to their belief in justice. They chose to resist. The Athenians laid siege to the island. When Melos eventually fell, the Athenian decree was carried out. Adult Melian men were put to death. All the women and children were sold into slavery. The island was repopulated with Athenian colonists. Thucydides recorded this not as a tragedy, but as a clinical case study in power. The law was stated, the law was demonstrated, the outcome was its proof. The fate of the Melians provides us with a perfect diagnosis of strategic failure. Their destruction was not a result of a lack of courage. It was a result of a fundamental miscalculation of reality. They brought appeals for justice to a negotiation about power. They mistook their desires for leverage. Let us dissect their errors, for they are the same errors made by the weak today. First, hope. The Melians based their entire strategy on the hope that the Spartans would intervene. Hope is not a plan. Hope is a passive state of wishing for a better outcome without possessing the means to create it. In a strategic context, hope is a poison. It allows you to feel proactive while doing nothing. It convinces you that external forces will save you, absolving you of the brutal responsibility of saving yourself. When you find yourself hoping for a promotion, hoping for a negotiation to go your way, or hoping an opponent will be merciful, you are in the position of Melos. Second, appeals to morality. The Melians believed in fairness. They believed that because their cause was just, they should be spared. This is a child's logic. Appeals to fairness are a tactic of the weak. It is an attempt to impose your moral framework on an opponent who has explicitly rejected it. When the Athenians said justice only exists between equals, they were handing the Melians the key. But the Melians refused to see it. They thought they were in a moral debate. They were, in fact, in a physics experiment about force. Your opponent does not care about your principles. They care about their interests. To appeal to their morality is to signal that you have no other leverage. These are not simply poor tactics. They are liabilities. They are cognitive viruses that infect your decision-making and guarantee your subjugation. To base your strategy on hope and fairness is to build your fortress on a foundation of mist. If hope is a liability and appeals to justice are a sign of weakness, what then is the solution? What is the cure for the condition of being Melian? The cure is the relentless, unsentimental pursuit of strength. This is not a call to evil. It is a call to rationality. The pursuit of power is not a moral failing. It is a biological and strategic imperative. In a system governed by the law that the strong do what they can, the only logical response is to become strong. To refuse to do so is not a virtuous choice. It is an act of abdication. It is a quiet consent to suffer what you must. Power is not a vague concept. It is a measurable quantity. We must frame it in concrete terms. First, economic strength. This is the foundation. Money is stored power. It is freedom of action. It is the ability to say no. It is the capacity to endure a siege, to fund your own ventures, to move and act without asking for permission. Without economic self-sufficiency, you are dependent. You are a subject. Your choices are made for you by those who control the resources. Second, social strength. This is your network, your status, your reputation. It is the web of alliances and obligations you cultivate. A powerful network provides intelligence, access, and a coalition that can act in your interest. Reputation is a form of gravity. It makes others want to be aligned with you. It is a shield that deters attacks and a weapon that amplifies your influence. Third, physical and mental strength. A weak body and a scattered mind cannot effectively wield power. Physical vitality provides the energy and resilience for sustained effort. Mental fortitude, the discipline to see the world as it is, and to act with cold cognition, is the operating system of the powerful man. The pursuit of this strength is not a hobby. It is the central task. It is the ethical duty of anyone who wishes to have agency in their own life. It is the work of transforming yourself from a pawn, subject to the whims of others, into a player who can direct their own fate. The lesson of the Melian Dialogue is not to become a tyrant. It is to cease being a victim. The first step is a profound shift in perception. You must learn to think like an Athenian. To think like an Athenian is to view the world through the lens of power, interest, and leverage. When you enter any situation, a business meeting, a negotiation, a conflict, you must silently map the power dynamics. Who has the leverage? What are their true interests, beyond the words they are saying? What is their capacity to act, and what is yours? When an opponent or a partner appeals to fairness or what is right, do not be seduced by the language. Analyze it. Is this a genuine appeal between equals, or is it the tactic of a Melian who has no other cards to play? Listen to their argument, but base your decision on an unsentimental calculation of interests and power. Do not complain about this reality. Do not lament its cruelty. To do so is a waste of energy. It is to remain in the Melian mindset. The Athenian does not complain about the law of gravity. He studies aerodynamics and builds a machine that allows him to fly. Understanding this iron law of power is not a cause for cynicism or despair. It is the beginning of your liberation. It frees you from the false hope and crippling sentimentality that keeps most people weak and afraid. It allows you to discard the comforting lies and to operate on the plane of reality, where true agency is possible. The world is not just. It is a contest of power. By understanding this, you take your first step out of the crowd of spectators and onto the field of play. You stop hoping the world will be different and begin the work of acquiring the strength to command your own corner of it. Power, not justice, is the final arbiter. The choice now is yours.